What's up, YouTube? Your boy back once again with another sport topic, and today we're going to talk some football. Houston Texans football. Houston Texans won the news a little bit this week because the NFL Combine has started Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, either Sunday or Monday. But the coaches were introduced and did their little press conference, and Bill O'Brien had his press conference yesterday. He dropped some little nuggets, he dropped some little tidbits, some little nuggets, some little news, and we're gonna break this down. We're gonna talk about what does this mean going forward for the Texans, what does this mean going forward for the season, and also how do we really feel about these moves, and does this really help or even hurt the Houston Texans? So we're gonna talk about that because one of the moves that he announced rather, is that Tim Kelly, he's going to allow Tim Kelly to actually be an offensive coordinator. He's going to allow him to call plays Sunday on game day. He's going to actually allow him to call plays, not just call plays in practice, not just put the cookies and set up for the offensive meetings. He's going to not just set up a presentation. He's actually going to allow him to be the legitimate offensive coordinator and call plays with that big ass Denny's menu on Sundays. And I say that to this. Also, the other moves he made, Tim Kelly is also going to be the quarterbacks coach, and T.J. Yates is going to be the assistant quarterbacks coach, and also that Brian Cushion is going to have a bigger role with the linebacker coaches, with the linebackers and coaching the linebackers. We're going to get into those moves in a minute. We're going to talk about the most important move, the nitty gritty, which is allowing Tim Kelly to be the offensive coordinator and allowing him to call plays, because outside Bill O'Brien, there was only two other head coaches that call plays full time for their teams. That's Sean McVay for the LA Rams, and that's also 49ers, Kyle Shanahan for the 49ers. Those were the only two. I know Andy Reid called plays sometimes, but he also let Eric call a lot of the plays. Bruce Arians let Byron Leftwich have full control, call plays down there in Tampa Bay. And the rest of the NFL does the same thing. They allow the head coaches allow their offensive coordinators to call plays. And Sean McVay, who went to a Super Bowl last year, his win got offensive coordinator this season. Got outside help. So, but no, Bill O'Brien not willing to give up his ego until now. And I say that to say this. This move does absolutely nothing for me. It means, to me personally, means absolutely nothing. Because it's just a carbon copy of Bill O'Brien. This guy has been with Bill O'Brien since Bill O'Brien's been at Penn State. So he's at Penn State for 2 years. And then he's been the NFL coaching the Texans for the past 6 years. So his 8 years of coaching experience is under Bill O'Brien. Why do I expect a different type of... My thing with the offense is the philosophy. It's not just that I just don't like Bill O'Brien just because. It's the actual offensive philosophy. So you're telling me a guy who's been raised under Bill O'Brien for the past 8 years, I'm supposed to be okay with him calling the plays? It's gonna make this big ass drastic difference in the offense is gonna be better? No, because I think it's gonna be ran the exact same. The only thing I really think is done is that Bill O'Brien has just shifted the blame over to Tim Kelly. So when people get mad on Sunday afternoons and Monday mornings about how the offense looks, I don't call plays anymore. Direct that to Tim Kelly. He's the one that's calling the plays. He's the one that's calling the plays. It's not even the first time that Bill O'Brien's not called plays. He let Gotze call plays back in 15? No, 15, yeah. 15 and 16. He allowed Gotze to call plays back then. And it was atrocious. It was bad then. Because it's the same offensive philosophy. It's not the actual play calling, it's the philosophy. Now, if you would come and tell me that Tim Kelly's going to call plays, and Tim Kelly went to Clemson or went to some of these other offensive, or some of these other spread schools in college, and got somebody from them to be on his staff, to be his right-hand man, his assistant, and they devise an offense cater to DeShaun Watson. That's what I've been harping for. Because once they announced that Bill O'Brien is the general manager, we know good and well Bill O'Brien's not going to get fired at least this season. More than likely not even next season as well. That's just the bullet that we're going to have to bite. That he is going to be the head coach. If he's the general manager, he's going to be the head coach. He's not going to fire himself. So if that shoe is like if that's not an option anymore about bringing in a whole new coaching staff, the next best option is to bring in somebody else, or you devise and you create an offense system. That's what I've been begging for since that moment. Bring in somebody to create an offense. Because you go out there and you get you go out there. If you tell me that he went out there and got somebody from Clemson or another spread school and they create an offense catered to DeShaun Watson, I'm on board with that. I can rock with that. That's something I can be like, okay, I'm interested. Now you piqued my interest with that. They will go out and get an actual new offensive mind, like how LSU got Joe Brady to help Joe Burrow and allow him to get and got all that out of him, and he's able to be the Heisman Trophy winner, win the national championship, and on track to be the first overall pick, something of that nature. Cool. Like I said, go out and devise an offensive system like Greg Robinson did for Baltimore. You create an MVP in Lamar Jackson. Cool. Or if you tell me somebody that has an actual offensive background that dates back to, I don't know, maybe, coaching Brett Favre and, then coaching Donovan McNabb and then also being the coach of Michael Vick's best year as an NFL starter like Andy Reid, and somebody off of his tree coming in. Then now you're cooking with grease. Now you've piqued my interest. Now I'm like, okay, I can rock with those moves. But just hand the play calling position to somebody, your understudy, somebody that's been coaching under you, somebody you've been teaching for the past 8 years. It's like if I own a restaurant, or if I work at a restaurant and the customers complain about my cooking, and you get rid of me, and I just let my little brother be the head chef, who I taught cook. I taught him how to cook, and let him be the head chef. The food's gonna be the same. It's he learned how to cook under me. So if you didn't like my food, why would you like his food? He learned offense under Bill O'Brien. So if you don't like Bill O'Brien's offense, why are we gonna like his? This is not the same situation with Anthony Weaver. And I have my questions about Anthony Weaver. I'm not 100% sold on Anthony Weaver, but one thing about Anthony Weaver, he played in the NFL, he played under Rex Ryan, he played under this coach here, he played under this coach here, he coached under this coach here. So he could take parts, not just from Rack, he could take parts from all these other defensive minds that he's been around and create a defensive system. Okay, so his defensive system is not just going to be a Romeo Cornell carbon copy. It's going to be something different because he has different ideas he's been around. Same thing with Vrabel. Vrabel played under Bill Belichick, played under this coach over here, then went and then became an assistant coach or coach over in Ohio State under Urban Meyer. Then came to Houston and coached for Rack. So his defensive mind is different from everybody else's because he didn't just get raised under Rack or just get raised under Bill O'Brien. He has other trees he could pick from, other fruits and trees he could pick from to create a system and do his coaching thing out there in Tennessee. This is not the same situation with Tim Kelly. Tim Kelly has been a grad student under Bill O'Brien, has been to the NFL under Bill O'Brien as a tight ends coach, assistant offensive line coach, quality control guy, all the other stuff that he was doing with Bill O'Brien. All of this stuff, all this information that he has gotten is from William Bill O'Brien. I know I'm butchering his name, but whatever. Bill O'Brien. He got all his information under Bill O'Brien. Why do I expect a different system? And I'm not saying the Bill O'Brien system is totally trash, because you can't just come out there and just run the straight Clemson Dabble college system. You can't. But you can take parts of that college system, take parts of Bill O'Brien's system, and put them together. You take out the things that doesn't benefit DeShaun, and you take out the things like the deep ball that benefits DeShaun, and then boom, you create an offense devised for DeShaun Watson with the weapons, with Hop, with Fuller, with Steels, with Kiki, with the tight ends, with Duke Johnson, with Carlos Hyde if you decide to bring Carlos Hyde back, or whatever it is you do during the draft for free agency. All those things become even more greater when you have an offense catered to DeShaun Watson, something that they have not done. That Bill O'Brien is so hell-bent on having his style work. Newsflash. Bill O'Brien's style has not worked outside of Foxborough, New England. That's the last time it worked. When it was in Foxborough. It don't work nowhere else. Tell me where else has Bill O'Brien's offense looked good. He's been here 6 years. When has his offense looked good? The only time is a 6-game stretch with DeShaun's rookie year when they ran a version of the Clemson-style offense. Other than that, Bill O'Brien's core offense Has never looked good. His best thing is when he got TJ Yates off the bench against Cincinnati, and then a couple games that he had Ron Mallett look serviceable, and when he got Case Keenum out of the tree to finish out the last 2 games of the 14th season, and a couple games here and there with Fitzy. That's it. So some hit and misses games throughout the first couple years up until Brock Osweiler year. It was he had a couple games, probably 5 or 6 games that you can cherry pick. Like, okay, those were decent performances. Then the Brock Osweiler year happened when it was all trash. DeShaun has had his moments, but other than that, the offense does not look good. Now, I know I spoke TJ Yates' name because I'm gonna talk about the moves I actually do like, and that is that TJ Yates is going to be the assistant quarterbacks coach. That is a very good move. The reason why, because I think TJ Yates eventually is going to be a damn good offensive coordinator, if not be a head coach. I think TJ Yates actually has head coaching aspirations to be an NFL head coach. I don't know about that just yet, but as far as being an offensive coordinator, I think that he has a legitimate shot of being one of the elite offensive coordinators. The reason why is because the pedigree that he has serves well to be one of those type of guys. He's a guy who's been breaking down NFL film since he was in college, because that's one of the reasons why the Texans drafted him back in 2011 was because when he was at North Carolina, they ran a similar system to Kubiak's. So he even broke down Texans film while he was in college. So like when they break down the North Carolina film, he will also break down the Texans film as well to get a feel, because the styles were extreme. The game plan styles were extremely similar at that time. So he's been breaking down NFL offensive schemes since he was in college. Then gets to the NFL, plays, come off the bench as a rookie. Won a couple games, got to the playoffs, won a playoff game, the first playoff game in the franchise history, things like that. Then after he left, Kubiak went to Atlanta. After he left Atlanta, went over here, then came to Texas twice under Bill O'Brien. Came and helped out Bill O'Brien off the bench in 2015, then came back in 2017. I think he went to Buffalo for a stretch. And also, not to mention, when DeShaun Watson got drafted by the Houston Texans, one of the first people he called was TJ Yates to help him learn some of Bill O'Brien's system off top, to get a little speed course before his rookie minicamp. He's been around a lot of offensive minds. A very good one in Gary Kubiak in that system, because I think Gary Kubiak's system would do wonders for DeShaun Watson. Like, I think that West Coast bootleg run system that would do. Just imagine DeShaun play. Now DeShaun do gotta get better on his play action, because his play action, some of his play, he don't sell that play action real well. But that's a conversation for another video. But just imagine him doing that bootleg with the way he could run the football. I mean, Matt Schaub could never run like that. So you talk about, you add the way, and one, he's more accurate than Matt Schaub too. So basically, Matt Schaub, who led the league in passing back in 2009 under this system, if you give it to DeShaun, it's like that on steroids. So TJ Yates, knowing that type of offense, raising that type of offense via college and his first couple years in the NFL, and then seeing other offensive systems out there, like I harped back to earlier, he can devise offensive game plans, not to mention he's a quarterback himself. He knows how to be. He's been in that experience. He knows how to, I know how to read that defense, because I remember what I do. I didn't have the athletic ability and the athletic talent. And that's another thing, too. He was a guy who was a backup who had to scrape. He's not. Sometimes I know we think about guys who got good names, big names like the Tony Romos and things like that, who were successful in the NFL or successful in basketball, whatever. Those guys sometimes don't make good head coaches or good coaches, because they had talent. And when you hard back on talent, it's something you can always fall back on. Now, if you're a guy who has to do everything between the ears up here, you got to do everything mentally, because you don't have the supreme talent. You have to work everything off of scheme and knowledge. You can teach that better. Because I can't teach you my arm strength. I can't teach you my speed. I can't teach you what I see. But if I know how to break it down, because I had to break it down myself, because that's how I had to learn, I can give that to you and have you break it down. And then now you can add your own twist in with your talent, because your talent is more superb than mine. Then you can even outdo what I've done. So I think that's why TJ Yates is on the fast track. I think eventually to be a very good, if not elite, offensive coordinator. I don't know about head coach. That I don't know how he is, how he commands the whole team and things like that. Like Bill O'Brien saying that he used to take when the offense come out, he'd be sitting there talking to DeShaun and talking to the linemen and the running backs and the receivers. Worry about the damn game. That's the reason why you can't call no timeouts. That's the reason why because you ain't paying attention to the game. You worry about the damn offense. You got too much you gotta do. Like that right there, that statement that he made right there was very concerning. Like that explains why the team is the way they is. You're not paying attention to the damn game, your damn self. We talk about his clock management skills. It's because he's not watching the game. It's really because he doesn't know. That's the reason why you can't come out with a play on 4th and 1 because you're not paying attention. You're doing other shit. It makes no sense. But you're supposed to be a head coach, and this is a guy that you allow to be the general manager. That's a conversation for another video. But I think that this TJ Yates move is the fast track move for TJ Yates to eventually be, I don't know if he's going to be offensive coordinator here, but eventually be a top offensive coordinator. And I think he has all the tools because of his playing history and his bouncing around from team to team history as well. Being on different practice squads and being in different organizations, he knows how to cherry pick and get things right here. He's going to be able to become and create his own system and put his own twist, his own spin on it because he has different voices that he can piggyback off of. Tim Kelly has one voice that he's been listening to for the past 8 years. That's not a recipe for success. And then same thing with Brian Cushing. I think Brian Cushing was a special teams and strength and conditioning assistant last year. Now he's going to take on a bigger role with the linebackers. And like I just said earlier, he can't teach him his talent because Brian Cushing was a first-round pick, rookie of the year, all-pro, Pro Bowl type player. And I think if Brian Cushing never got hurt against the Jets and never got hurt against Kansas City in 13 and 14, I think that he would have been on one of those fast tracks of maybe not a Hall of Fame guy, but definitely a guy that you want to put in the Texans Ring of Honor. He might still eventually be a guy. I think he still is one of the top 10 Texans of all time, just because of the history of the franchise not being there long. But man, his intensity is crazy. His intensity, and he went 100 miles an hour every single game. He gave you 150% every time he stepped on the field. And that right there, he could definitely teach those linebackers. If he can get Zach Cunningham and McKinney and maybe Duke Ejiofor and Zach Martin, Jacob Martin and other guys, other linebackers to play, Dylan Cole, other linebackers to play with that type of intensity, game in and game out, always playing 100 miles per hour, that motor never cutting off. If he can get those guys to be amped up and play like that, that linebacker core could be definitely deadly. I think that's going to be a huge plus. So I'm cool with the Cushion move, and I'm cool with the TJ Yates move because I know you can't just give TJ Yates the offense coordinator off rip. He does have to. I understand he has to climb up the ladder, so that I understand. This Tim Kelly thing, I'm not sold on this because I think it's one or two things. Either it's going to be the same Bill O'Brien system, or it's going to be Bill O'Brien's scapegoat, and I think it's a combination of both. You're going to see the exact same thing you've been seeing for the past 8 years. And then now Bill O'Brien has a scapegoat because you can't blame Bill O'Brien for the offense now because Tim Kelly calls plays. And this whole thing, well, maybe this is it. Bill O'Brien is out of excuses. No, it's put up or shut up. Man, we've been saying that for how many years now? Especially since DeShaun's been here. Since DeShaun's been here, you have no more excuses. You have a quarterback, that's all your excuses. But every year we find an excuse for him. Well, not us. Not us. I'm talking about the organization finds that excuse. Oh, the offensive line this. Oh, the weapons that. Oh, the general manager this. Oh, the offensive play call this. Bump all that. We know what the problem lies. But y'all want to keep on kicking that can down the road, fine. Y'all keep kicking that y'all keep kicking that can down the road all you want to. But we all gonna end up at the same spot because I've been there. I already know where the spot is. I'm already there. Y'all keep kicking it down the road. I'm gonna be there. I'm already there. I'm just saying that I don't think much is going to change with this move outside of now your anchor is just going to go towards Tim Kelly. And I'm not blaming Tim Kelly. Could he? could he actually, and if he come out there with different type of plays, like no, maybe the whole asteroid play was on him, because I know the asteroid play was on Bill O'Brien. I know Bill O'Brien, one, because of the name asteroid. Bill O'Brien ain't never been no asteroid. I know Bill O'Brien, no James, no Travis Scott. So just for the simple fact that the name of the play is called Astroworld, I know for a fact Bill O'Brien had nothing to do with that play. So maybe if we get more plays like that, and it was some little nice plays. I'll rewatch some of the games early on the year. Like I rewatched the Jacksonville game in London. I rewatched the first Kansas City game. I rewatched the Falcons game. And I'm like, we had plays back then that looked way different than they did after the bye week. It's like after the bye week, the offensive plays just stopped being innovative. They start being back to just boring old plays. It was a stretch. It was a good 4-5 game stretch, like maybe after the Panther game. So from the Falcons game into the bye week, the offense was like that little stretch right there, that little 5-game stretch, the offensive plays were just out of this world. Then the bye week, like we did a lot of RPOs. Like after the bye week, none of that. It was the same old plays, and then we end up they threw in the asteroid play against the Patriots. Outside of that, there was no more interesting plays. It was just this regular run-of-the-mill offense. And if Tim Kelly was a reason for that, if Tim Kelly was a reason early on in the year, the reason why those plays were a little bit special, and he kind of backed off after the bye week, and Bill O'Brien took more control, come mid-season, I'll be the first one to be like, y'all was right. This offense looks way different. I don't expect the offense to look that much different. I think that it's going to look different from maybe, DeShaun taking the progression in the NFL, him being more a knowledgeable player in the NFL, able to read defenses even better. The NFL reacting time gets even slower. You add more, you might add new weapons, things like that. But I think it's going to still be similar to how it's always been. I'm not that optimistic about it. I'm just not. Because I just think that Tim Kelly is just another version, just a carbon copy of Bill O'Brien. He's been with the guy for the past 8 years. I don't see much of a difference. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Comment below if you haven't. Click that bell to get more videos. Holla.